This is getting out of hand. Habs fans are now proposing trades of Nick Suzuki for Leon Draisaitl. I know the trade rumors are going nuts, but we have to dive into some of the most ridiculous proposals we've seen. Plus, one insider saying that he doesn't believe the Habs will trade the top 5 pick at all. That plus much more coming up on this episode of Habs Digest, and we're going to get straight into it. But we're going to start with something different. And we're going to start with a conversation on JF Houle, Jesse. Now, Amy Johnson over at the Hockey Writers, they had a fantastic article talking about AHL coaches who could maybe be ripe for promotion. And, well, in their video, they kind of discussed some coaches. In the article, they mentioned JF Houle. And there's a big question mark because the Habs have not extended him yet for Laval. And as we've seen, Jesse, he has done a great job with the Habs' young guys. You know, Arber, Xhekaj going down there, Barron going down there, especially Xhekaj with his turnaround, even preparing a lot of these AHL guys, whether it's Brandon Gignac or whoever, Lucas Condata, for that jump up to the NHL. And when you look at a lot of the vacancies in the NHL right now, I believe there's about 5 or 6, Jesse. Some of these teams might decide to take a shot and go off of the normal carousel of NHL coaches. They're talking like, Sheldon Keefe's out there. But you look at Spencer Carberry's success by the Capitals bench after being in the AHL. What are the odds you think that an NHL team comes swinging after JF Houle, whether it be the Sharks or the Kraken or something like that? I don't think it would surprise me, especially for a team that might have a bit more youth.
Yeah, well, with the musical chairs going on right now for coaches in the NHL, basically all options are on the table there. But you have to feel like even though Jeff Houle probably would be pretty happy getting to that NHL level, you have to take those opportunities when they come up. Obviously, probably more like an assistant coach kind of level for right now. Definitely he would jump at that opportunity. But at the same time, I think he'd be just the happy the same kind of getting that extension with the Laval Rocket and kind of continuing a lot of the great work that he started with a lot of these young players.
I think you're bang on. Yeah, I mean, not necessarily a head coach for JFO. Maybe I implied that, but yeah, you're very right. Like, bringing him up to a staff, though, could be good. Again, like maybe an assistant for the Sharks or something like that. But despite the fact the Habs haven't extended him, there have been a lot of conversations about whether he is the best fit for Laval. Maybe you want to see him for a couple more seasons. I would very much be down to sign him to somewhat of a short-term contract to see how he fares with this next run of prospects because, Jesse, let's be honest, over the next couple of years, there's going to be more and more and more players funneling into Laval, coming over from Europe, new draft picks. We're going to see Jacob Fowler in a couple of years, Oliver Kapanen in maybe 2 years, and we don't know how long some of these other guys are going to be down there, Mishar, Beck, before they make that NHL leap. I would like to sign him to a short-term deal to kind of see how he fares with this new generation of prospects. What about you?
Yeah, I think that would be great. I think he's done a great job with the young players so far, getting them ready to be ready when they come to the NHL. And sometimes it's easy not to make too much fanfare about, okay, our AHL coach, but it's like, we need to remember, like, this is the person that's responsible for developing many of our young stars. David Reinbacher is probably going to be spending a lot of time in the AHL next year. It's like this coach's relationship, this really helps them jumpstart their NHL careers so much to get ready, really plays a pivotal role in their entire career, right? So this is an important position to get it right. I believe that Kent Hughes is keeping an eye, but if we could do something in the short term, which I think he's done a good job, I think that he's deserved that.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Let us know your thoughts on JFO down below. Should he come back? Should he go away? We'd love to hear from you. But we're going to move quickly on to the next topic. We got a lot to talk about today. And, well, there's been a lot of speculation about this number 5 pick. The most recent coming from a Montreal Gazette article from Stu Cowan. Love Stu Cowan. Again, I always tell you guys, if you get a chance to follow him on Twitter, awesome stuff. Posts some just great articles, great columns, plus some daily, this day in Habs history. But we're going to get right into what he said. In his mailbag recently, someone asked him, how do you think the draft's going to play out, especially at pick number 5? He said, as mentioned above in the article, I expect the Canadiens will draft a forward. Straight up, doesn't think they're going to trade it. That was the headline of the article. He said Bob McKenzie has Tisha Guhle at number 10. He mentions Cayden Lindstrom at number 5. He said he wouldn't be surprised to see Lindstrom or Guhle end up with the Canadiens. Jesse, there's a lot of stuff going around about this pick. But the consensus that I'm getting from a lot of insiders, not just Stu, but just the feeling that from what everyone seems to be saying is that Kent wants to draft. Even the feeling from Kent himself, they see so many talented players that they could get with this number 5 overall pick. And I am starting to believe more and more and more trading up just doesn't seem to be an option for them. They're very happy standing pat.
It is. And the other option would be like trading for an NHL ready player, like a young kind of established guy. I think that Kent Hughes, he's definitely open to that type of option. It's definitely nice sometimes knowing exactly what you're getting, but you have to feel like you're going to be getting a high tier of offensive player, being able to pick at that 5th, overall sort of place there. So being really interesting to see what they do with this going forward.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild time. Now, I want you guys to comment down below right now, because this is something I know a lot of you are very passionate about. or maybe even not comment, say out loud to yourself, tell us through the screen. Do you want to trade this number 5 pick if you have a chance to move up for number 2, or do you think that gap is not quite there? Because there's varying opinions, Jesse, but to me, honestly, if it comes down to the only way I would move number 5 is if the Habs trade down because their top targets straight up aren't there. Now, we know they love Beck at Seneca, but if, say, Lindstrom is gone, say Demidov's gone, say Celebrini's gone, which he will be, in that world, I might consider it. Other than that, I think you absolutely have to take someone.
Yeah, and I think if you're taking somebody at 5th overall, it's like, you're looking at somebody that's ready to come into your lineup sooner rather than later, right? I know some of us would want to get competitive. Okay, trade for a guy that we know can kind of plug in and play. But if you're getting a Cayden Lindstrom, you have to feel like there's not a huge runway before he can really get here with this team, right? I just think there's too much potential. There's too many moving parts of even a Demidov maybe slipping to us at 5th that you want to hold on to that and just see where the cards lie.
For sure. But before we get into the final topic of the video, Jesse, you're going to do something different. Guys, I just wanted to let you know that we have upgraded our channel memberships. You can skip this part if you want. I'll have the timestamp for the next session. But guys, starting at just $4 Canadian a month, that's like less than what an Americano costs me at my local coffee shop per month. You're going to get members-only videos, priority answers in streams, and even at some higher tiers, you can suggest topics that we'll cover on Habs Digest. And even in the top tier, in the top 2 tiers, you get to have video calls with us and even be featured in a video. So if you want to go have a look for channel memberships, the link will be in the description. I'm sure you'll find something you like. You guys like us, there'll be even more of us in the channel membership, so go check it out down below. But Jesse, we're going to get into this final topic. This is so interesting. So I know trade rumors are running wild this time of year, and of course Montreal is looking for their next top guy, and a lot of people have been talking about Leon Draisaitl, us included, Jesse. We're talking about maybe a free agency thing. But in a very recent article posted by Marc Dumont, who also did a mailbag, today's mailbag day, it was pretty wonderful. I want to just highlight a trade proposal that he went over. Sam SMTL asked, if Draisaitl doesn't re-sign in Edmonton, would a sign and trade package of Guhle, spell Guhle right, fans, we all spell Guhle, we spell it with a G-U-H. Anyway, Guhle, Owen Beck, a swap of first next year, and Nick Suzuki, is that an overpay for a sign and trade for Draisaitl? And Marc Dumont kind of said, he thinks it's a decent value offer, but he actually thinks other teams would probably pay more. But he also says at the end, hey, he thinks they'll re-sign Draisaitl long-term, and plus Suzuki's the most important player on the Habs. I mean, obviously, Jesse, Draisaitl is a top 5 player in the league. No ifs, ands, or buts about 106, 128, 110 points. He's a playoff performer as well. He is he is the guy. But Nick Suzuki is the captain of the Montreal Canadiens, the guy who's supposed to lead us into the future. Value-wise, maybe, but honestly, the fact that someone's proposing this, like, I get it. Just pure in a vacuum talent-wise, maybe not crazy. But for the Montreal Canadiens, this is ridiculous. There is no world in my mind where you trade Nick Suzuki, your face of the franchise. There's stuff other than on-ice talent that has to go into trade proposals. This would probably destroy your locker room. This would destroy your team chemistry just to get a guy who you're going to have to sign through his mid-30s, who is probably, going to put up 100 points a year. I think this is asinine.
And the fact that other teams would probably be willing to pay a little bit more is actually quite frightening, to be honest. But we need to remember something about Nick Suzuki is that he actually scored more goals this year than Connor McDavid. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's right. With his 33 goals, scoring more than Connor McDavid's 32. Well, forget the fact that Connor McDavid also put up 132 points compared to Nick Suzuki 77, but respectable all the same, right? Now, for sure, when we're talking about a player like Draisaitl, I know it hurts, but it's like, for sure, this kind of needs to come in the conversation, right? But you just have to feel like, okay, anybody but Suzuki, but Slafkovsky, because these are really like our organizational players. Like, we've just built up such a foundation around them. Like, it's funny when a player kind of transcends just themselves, right? When they really kind of embody really the whole organization in such a way that Nick Suzuki does, a whole culture, right? That so much time, so much care has gone into nurturing, right? Obviously, we know that Draisaitl is Draisaitl. That's always going to have a lot of value. We're just getting ready, though, for this big free agency coming up. So I think we'll definitely be ready for some more mock trades.
There'll be a lot more. But yeah, I mean, again, like, pure value-wise, you could even argue, actually. But, like, you know, a first-line center, not, like, super-duper megastar in Nick Suzuki, who's very good defensively. First-pairing defenseman in Guhle, a good prospect in Beck, and a first-round pick for a top-5 player in the league, a guy that's going to be a Hall of Famer. Maybe, but at the same time, like we said, this is just something that would never happen. It's very interesting that it's getting covered, right? I want to know your guys' opinions on this down below. Is this the type of trade, even if it's not Suzuki, that you'd be willing to do for a player? How much would you be willing to pay for Draisaitl? Is it less than this? Do you think the Oilers would accept less? There's so many things we can break down. We'd love to hear from you down below. But that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 12,000. We're so close. So if you guys see that number below 12 and you haven't hit the subscribe button, do it now. We'd really appreciate it. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.